Greetings, all. I trust you're doing well during this season of confinement and of sequestering and of being stuck at home. And some of you are working, some of you are not working. Some of you are kind of stir crazy. Some of you have cleaned the last closet that you have to clean, and you're wondering, what am I going to do next? So I want to touch on something that I shared on in our Sunday broadcast, and it's all about the idea of running the race with patience. A point was made, and I wanted to elaborate on that because I feel like it's an important point. And through the years, great people, great believers in Christ have talked about patience. And patience is never an easy virtue because it's something you have to choose. It's not something that you pray about and that God just gives you patience. It's something that you have to exercise as you come across things in your life. And the Bible tells us to run with patience. It says in Hebrews 12, let us run with patience. And think about it this way. What an odd set of words to put together. On the one hand, you have running. On the other hand, you have patience. My first thought was a marathon runner. When I was in high school, I ran. I used to be a distance runner and I enjoyed it. And you have to learn how to pace yourself so that you have enough energy and steam to win at the end, to finish your race. But when we talk about running with patience, it's a little different because both of these words seem a little bit opposite each other. And usually when you run, you're anxious, you are restless, you are eager, you're striving, you're exerting energy. And yet it says, well, run, but with patience. So think about it this way, that's one picture, but then you have the other picture, which is patience. And patience paints a different picture than running in a sense. Patience, when you visualize it, it is reclining, it's resting, it's contentment. It's the idea that, oh, we're good. We're just going to take a breath here. So how do you do both? How do you run while at the same time showing patience? And as I said earlier, great people that believed in God and followed him all their lives, like George Matheson, spoke of two types of patience. The first kind is where a person is able to lie down and rest during the storm. And when I think of that, a painting, famous painting of a little bird just resting ever so contently on the last end of a branch right next to this rushing waterfall. And it's a picture of peace and it's a picture of rest. And in a sense, that's what this kind of patience is. It's the ability to rest when there's something raging around you. But then there's another type of patience that George Matheson spoke of that is even greater than this one. And it is the kind of patience where a person can carry great burdens and great weights on them while at the same time continuing to run. In other words, you still remain hopeful, you still remain integrous as a person, you still remain joyful in your outlook, and yet you carry the burdens of patience at the same time. And that is a great patience, and it's only a kind of patience that God can give you. And I know it sounds contradictory to what I said earlier, but I believe that even though you exercise patience, this kind of patience, God has to give you the grace to exercise because you can't do it in your own strength. So as Matheson puts it, it is the power to work under a stroke, meaning you've been hit, you've taken a hit, to have a great weight at your heart and still run, and to have a deep anguish in your spirit and still perform. It is a Christ-like thing, meaning that only Jesus can do this, and doing it makes you more like Jesus. And so I wonder if you would ask yourself that question: am I running my race with patience? Am I running my race with patience? And how do you do it? How do you accomplish this running while at the same time, carrying all these weights without losing it and without losing. Many people today, they say, are losing it, especially the extroverts. God help you. I pray for you, because you guys and gals need to get out and you need to, do stuff. But only God can help us with this type of running. And I believe that whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, God will help you if you trust in Him. So understand that patience is a major foundation to character. You cannot have real character without patience. And patience is a word we all hate, because it means that we have to change. We have to adjust something. We have to stand back and not receive something that maybe we want to receive. And at the same time, this kind of patience is needed because it's the only way that we grow. It's the only way that we become a person who has real character. And as I said earlier, this is not something that you can do without God. George Saville said, "A man who is master of patience is master of everything else." And that is so key in our life, that if you master yourself, if you master your patience in your season, in this season of just difficulty, you'll master everything else. But it also begins with having patience with the person that you see every day in the mirror, you. And that is difficult often because we are hard on ourselves. If you're like me, I'm the kind of person that I'm harder on myself than I am on other people. If I fail, it is truly a profound thing for me. And it is difficult for me to not be hard on myself and condemn myself and do all these things. But as St. Francis de Sales said, having patience with all things, but first of all, with yourself. In other words, have patience with everything, but the first person you have to be patient with is you, because you will make mistakes, you will fail, you will fall into all kinds of sins and foolishness, you will say things you shouldn't have said, you will have to take back things that you should have, you wish you would have taken back. The point is that when you're self-forgiving, knowing that God forgave you, you really have no right not to forgive yourself. So forgive yourself. But another thing is this: surrender your control of the situation to God. Or let me put it in these words: surrender to God what is already out of your control anyway. Think about it. If it's out of your control, what can you do? If it's out of your power, what can you do but look to God? It is usually much, much easier to do something in a situation than to do nothing. When we do something, at least we feel, even if it's futile, hey, I'm doing something, I'm trying something. But we're in a season where we are literally homebound, most of us. And people, I'm sure, are stressing out and they're pacing back and forth like leopards in their cages. And this is the season we're in. And I believe that if you look to God, He'll help you through it. Peter Marshall, one of my favorite American preachers, he used to be on the chaplain of the Senate, I think in the 50s. And very sharp, very eloquent man. He said, "Teach us, O Lord, the disciplines of patience, for to wait is often harder than to work." So may God teach you today, and in this season, this next month especially, how to run the race with patience.